European leaders are raising the pressure on Donald Trump to ensure Ukraine has a seat at the table during upcoming talks with Russian President Vladimir Putin. The pair are set to meet in Alaska on Friday to discuss the future of the war in Ukraine. But there are concerns Volodymyr Zelenskyy will be sidelined. For more on this, I'm joined by Professor of International Politics at Birmingham University, David Dunn. David, good to have you back on the program. Now, just a few days away, to go with this meeting between Trump and Putin. And there is also that possibility, we don't know what's going to happen about Volodymyr Zelenskyy, his attendance there. But as long as negotiations focus, he says, on a ceasefire and not ceding more Ukrainian territory. So are we going around in circles here? Because this has happened before.
Yes, we have had many false starts on this, and this summit doesn't seem likely to be the source of a breakthrough either. That these two sides are very far apart, and it seems as if Mr. Witkoff in his extraordinary approach to diplomacy, has given false hope in this regard, because from what the Russians are saying, they're not even prepared to actually swap territory in the way in which they want. But of course, as far as Ukraine's concerned, that would be something which they haven't agreed to up front. What they want is a ceasefire, and instead what we have is Trump agreeing to host the Russians on American territory, to actually fate Putin in this way and give major concessions just by meeting without there being really any prospect of that ceasefire, let alone an agreement.
Yeah, you just spoke about Steve Witkoff there. And how concerning or embarrassing is it that when Trump's special envoy misunderstood Putin's proposal, thinking Russia was planning a peaceful withdrawal, but rather what Russia was really saying was it wanted Ukraine to withdraw from places like Kherson and Zaporizhia?
Well, I'm afraid this is symptomatic of the Trump administration's approach to many things, and foreign policy in particular. You have a vast bureaucracy of State Department, of the CIA, intelligence agencies, and what you do is you have an amateur real estate broker who's a friend of Trump's being sent by himself without any support. He doesn't insist on their notes being taken, so he has a very poor record of the meeting. And what you have as a consequence is a very one-sided set of negotiations. The Russians are well prepared, very professional, and clearly they're running rings around the Americans because Witkoff is massively unimpressive. And yet he's used in the Middle East where he's had no success, and he's clearly the front man in this regard too. So it's an extraordinary situation.
So in that case, what might actually come out of this summit?
Well, most people are saying that they're so far apart that it's difficult to see any real progress. But the concern is that in his haste to actually be able to say that he's brought an end to the fighting, that Trump will agree to terms that are unacceptable to both the Ukrainians and the Europeans who are concerned about wider European security, and put pressure on Ukraine to accept that. Because in a sense, it's easier for Trump to bully Ukraine into accepting a deal than it is to him to follow through on increased tariffs against India and China, which will be damaging economically to the United States. So there are as many aspects of peril in this negotiation. By virtue of the concession that Trump's made to allow Putin to come, it opens up the possibility of the deal being done above the head of other parties in a way that's problematic for the future of European security and Ukrainians' plight thereafter.
Yes, I suppose Europe is going to be watching this quite closely. Depending on what happens, would this sort of push, Western and Eastern European states to sort of come together for a plan that would that can further assist Ukraine?
Yeah, I mean, already what we've seen is that the Americans have massively scaled back what they have done. All the Biden era aid in terms of military aid and financial aid is coming to an end. The Europeans have stepped up and filled that gap. The Americans are down to about 30% of the aid, and no new aid has been agreed. What Trump has agreed instead is that Europeans can buy American military equipment and give it to the Ukrainians. So already the Russians are seeing the Americans are trying to count down the clock to the end of American aid. So they see themselves in a very favourable position. The Europeans are trying to step up, but they're also trying to put pressure diplomatically in the meeting in Brussels today today to try and make sure that the Americans don't sell the pass in Trump's rush just to get a ceasefire, not actually thinking about the wider consequences for European security and for the territorial integrity and prosperity and success and peace settlements for Ukraine as part of that.